And we do encourage you to move closer to where the seats are in the middle if you're comfortable doing that. Oh, no. Purse. We're all too close.
That's why I moved over.
They're quiet. Go for it, right?
They're waiting for it. Would you please stand for a prayer? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. O Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of the eternal Father, thou hast said, without me you can do nothing. In faith we embrace thy words, O Lord, and bow before thy goodness. Help us to complete the work we are about to begin for thine own glory, and guide us to fulfill thy commandments. For thou art blessed always, now and ever, and to ages of ages. Amen.
Okay, everyone. Lisa Farris. Oh. Lisa Farris will confirm the quorum.
Thank you to those who did an absentee ballot. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Great news. COVID and a possible ice storm, but all right. Next item is the approval of minutes. There were copies up there. I'm going to wait a minute to allow you to read it because we didn't get these in advance. I have the minutes. I thought I took them.
Does anybody need copies of the minutes from last month's meeting still? Just raise your hand, please. If you do, we'll get them out to you. Everybody's got them? Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of last year's annual meeting? Or do you need a few more minutes? All right, at this point, I'll entertain any changes, corrections to the minutes. Please be kind with my typos. All right, we'll assume that the minutes are approved as follows. So moved.
Yeah.
Motion?
Motion to approve? John Gakis, second. Jim Bogrist, all in favor? Motion, minutes approved. Thank you, Daria. Okay. I will. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year to all. I say happy, and I know very well that most people are not happy. Most of us are still uncertain of tomorrow. There is still a cloud of fear and some panic, yet there is no one to blame. We are all victims of this horrible pandemic that seems never ending. But the good news is that we, as Christians, believe that after death there is resurrection. Behind the darkness, there is light. If we survived the years 2020 and 2021, we could easily survive 2022. And the truth is, we did survive. Together we did, as a parish and as one family. Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow will be brighter. Together we can wipe out our sorrows and pain. Together we can defeat our fear and panic. Together we can create better tomorrow. The year 2020 was very tough. Last year was a little bit better, but still we could not do much. We could not achieve much as a parish. This year must be better. We must make it better. And together we can do that. Today we need God more than any other time. Without God, we can do nothing. Today we need to know that the Holy Scripture is God's love to us. We need to be together to overcome our troubles. We need to forgive and love each other. Love is the thermometer that can take our spiritual temperature. We need to stay one. We become one when we pray for each other. Prayers change things, but loving one another, most of all, changes us. We may not always love perfectly, but we need to at least try. We need to lift one another up and help each other through this difficult time. Our behavior tells the world what our Father is like. Our behavior should tell the world that our God is the God of peace and of harmony, not disorder and confusion. As we read in the book of Job, God created man to work in unity. No accomplishment will be achieved unless we are together. We need to work together in unity of mind and of heart. Remember that when Jesus sent out his disciples, he did not send them out alone. He sent them out 2 by 2. Brothers and sisters in Christ, this year, 2022, although it still looks vague, we need to move on. Life should not stop here. We need to start doing more. Here is what I'm looking forward to in this coming year. First, I'm very happy to share with you that St. Anthony continues to be a growing, vibrant parish family. We have 5 new households and two former members rejoining. It is up to all of us to encourage new membership to help the outreach committee continue their efforts to grow St. Anthony. Many thanks to all involved, and we look forward to more new members this year. Second, church school. This year, our church school is under new leadership. Many thanks to Joel Sabir for taking this responsibility and to Pamela Scarpa, who is continuing as a co-director. And allow me here to thank the outgoing church school co-directors, Nikki and Giat. Thank you very much for all your dedicated work for the future of our children. This year, the Archdiocese is starting a new and exciting curriculum program for all grades. The plan is to send the curriculum for each semester to all churches so that it can be implemented immediately. This semester will be about the Gospel of St. Matthew. Each class will have their own lessons and creative activities learning this gospel. Under Joe and Pamela's leadership, these new lesson plans will prove to be not only educational, but fun to learn. And speaking of the Gospel of St. Matthew, we are planning to have a mini Bible bowl right here in this hall during coffee hour for teens and adults. It will be good practice for our adults and teen teams so that they can compete in the 2020 Parish Life Conference. Our own Subdeacon Nicholas Nagorny will be leading this program. If anyone is interested in joining a team, please talk to Nick or me. This is going to be a fun way to learn the gospel and hopefully regain the Bible Bowl title St. Anthony had won years ago. Third, Teen Soyo. I guess some people remember.
You can't forget that.
Joe and Daria in Corvaya did a marvelous job last year and will be continuing their ministry this year. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you do for our teens. Thank you. Once again, the Archdiocese has taken the initiative regarding the young adults. They are no longer under the fellowship. The young adults are now a new ministry by itself. The goal is to spiritually educate our young adults and at the same time get them together for much needed camaraderie. The new curriculum program and the young adults ministry are now under the supervision of Father Nicholas Belcher, the pastor of St. George Church in Little Falls. We look forward to new directives from Father Belcher. Number 4, festival. Unfortunately, the last 2 years we could not have our international festival. And the truth is, we do not know if we can have it this year either. A meeting was called by Jim Vyas that included James Gakos, Chris Mandalakis, Rob Scarpa, Lois Didis, Hanne Kalyusef, Karen Canellos, Jackie Koskinas, and me. This meeting took place at the end of November. After much discussion, the decision was made to somehow include our festival with the Bergen Street Fest. This information has been forwarded to the Parish Council for their consideration. And here I'd like to ask Jim if you would like to say a couple words about this.
Yeah, Rob and I called this together to see how to reconceive the festival. A number of us got together, and we realized...
Jim, need a mic for the people screaming, watch the cords.
We got together, Rob and I called this together to talk about how to proceed with the festival. We knew that if we were to do this, it had to encompass 3 tasks. First was to raise money for our church, an important task. Second was to serve as outreach to the community, to let our community and neighbors know who we are. And third, as important as the other 2, is to increase and nurture fellowship amongst our St. Anthony's family. Because of the last 2 years in COVID, we've not been able to have the festival, so we brought some people that worked on this together to come up with ways, how do we proceed, how do we do a job that encompasses those 3. And Rob, I'll let you talk about what we spoke about real briefly.
Sure. What we discussed is, as Father had mentioned, we're not sure how we're going to proceed going forward with our festival as it was run previously due to COVID restraints and concerns. So what we were looking to do in order to reduce any income deficits this year would be to possibly incorporate what we do for the festival with Bergen Street Fest. In the past, Bergen Street Fest has been primarily a food truck festival. We were looking to convert it, as we did last year, into more of a carnival with lots of rides for the children, as well as have a limited number of food trucks there as well, but also to have our own food, like a barbecue area that we would be the primary person, groups serving the food. So for instance, we would have shish kebabs, we would have gyros, things that can be served outdoors. Not necessarily doing the hot foods that we've done in the past here in the kitchen that requires both a lot of manpower as well as a lot of time in terms of preparation. In the past, we've had Lois Didis and her team doing the bakery, as well as John Meyer and his team doing the kitchen. John has retired from that position, and Lois has mentioned to us that it is becoming more and more difficult to do the baking, the pastries, due to time restraints, and our parish is aging. The people that are working the bakery are now primarily in their 60s and 70s and older, so it's becoming more difficult. So we were looking to generate money by having a 4-day festival in September, and we would incorporate some of our ethnic foods over at the barbecue area that James Gakos and Chris Mandalakis would be supervising. So that's our premise right now, and we feel that it could be extremely successful if we incorporate the 2, thus offsetting any potential COVID issues that may be around still this year in terms of hosting something indoors.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, speaking of the festival, I would like to thank the chairpersons of our international festival for the last 2 years, Karen Canellos, Joe Incorvaya, Maria Nola, and Enid Vallejo Just, who, despite all the obstacles, had a food fundraiser to continue to raise funds for the parish. They did a great job. Thank you very much. Also, allow me to thank John Meyer for his great help in the kitchen for over 20 years. Last year, John asked for a much-needed break from the kitchen. He is not going anywhere and will figure out in what capacity he would like to help. Thankfully, two fine, devoted, and hardworking young men stepped in and accepted to take the responsibility on their shoulders. We are excited to have James Gakos and Chris Mandalakis take over the kitchen. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Fellowship. Since we are a pan-Orthodox church with many ethnic backgrounds, and we are all part of the fellowship, I would like to celebrate these wonderful backgrounds on perhaps a quarterly basis. For example, one night we can have a Greek night, another time we can have a Middle Eastern night, a Romanian night, and maybe a Slavonic night, or any other ethnic night, Irish or Italian. Is Mark here?
Mark isn't here.
Ah, he missed it.
He missed it.
We can learn about the heritage of each group through food, dance, and etc. And at the same time, have fun together. Today, I want to thank all the ministries and committees, the chairs and the members of all the committees of St. Anthony for their hard work and their sacrifices for the glory of our God. Especially to our Archdeacon Peter. You know, whatever I say about Archdeacon Peter is not enough. Anytime he is asked to do something, he willingly, with a huge smile on his face, takes care of it. Anytime he is asked to pick up someone, his answer is always yes. Anything needed to be done in the church, he is there. Thank you very much, Archdeacon Peter. God bless you. To Alice Ziemba, our church secretary, who keeps us all organized and focused. We could not do what we do without you, Alice. Thank you. To all members of our parish council, President Nikki Bach and Vice President Jim Vyas, for all your dedications. Thank you. To our great choir under the dedicated leadership of Stratos Mandalakis, thank you very much. As a chanter, Teresa Thomas is a great help to Stratos. Many thanks to both of them. To the altar boys, Subdeacon Peter Thompson, Subdeacon John McMinn, and our new addition, James Tweel Jr., and all the little guys who run right to the altar to help when they are in church. And the myrrh-bearers, who unfortunately could not do much the last couple of years, but who are steadfast in their determination to serve. Thank you all. To all the church school teachers and those who help them for teaching our children to love orthodoxy, thank you. To the finance committee, Ed Asili, John Banu, Isaiah Faleo Just, and Jim Watkins for making sure we pay the bills on time. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. To the House and Grounds Committee, Helen Schimmel, Mike McMinn, and Jim Bach for keeping the physical building in good shape. The roof is now repaired and the new air conditioner has been installed. Thank you. Thank you very much. To the whole rental committee, John Ziemba Sr., Sabah and Ghazi Abu Eid, who organize and oversee this very important revenue for the parish. Thank you. To the Church Beautification Committee, especially those who decorate holidays, through holidays, Karen, Christy, and John James for the beautiful decorations for all the holidays. And I cannot forget Christy's son, Christos, who helped them this year. Thank you very much. To the Women Guild, under the very able leadership of Jackie Koskinas, for always stepping up to help and donate. Thank you very much. She's somewhere. To John McMinn for streaming all the services and taking care of all our tech needs. Thank you, John. To the Young at Heart group for keeping track of all our seniors. Thank you. Syrians. To Amy Abdullah and Stratos Mandalakis for leading our continuing education series on pandemic ponderings, grief, gratitude, and joy. These sessions were very well attended in person and virtually and are much needed. We hope to see more of these seminars in the future. Thank you. To all the fundraiser chairs, Tricky Trey, Leslie Carter, Hanikal Youssef and their group, thank you. Yard Sale, Valerie Joseph and her crew, Birkin Street Fest and the Carnival, Brian and Robert Scarpa, George Tawfiq, Ed Asili, John Ziemba Jr., Rob Hanna, their families, and all those who helped them. Golf Outing, Ed Asili, Jim Watsons, Robin Ziemba, and their crew. Many thanks to all of you in taking the initiative to raise funds for our parish. And last but not least, to the best greeters ever, Helen Schimmel and Lisa Faris. Thank you. I hope that I have been as inclusive as possible with these thank yous, but please accept my apologies if there are any omissions. But most importantly, I really want to thank all the parishioners of St. Anthony, each one of you, for your love and continuous support you have shown to your church. Truly, there are not enough words to appreciate your support, especially financially. Without all this, St. Anthony could not exist. And as I thank all of you for your continuous financial support, I would like to remind those of you who might need some help that we are here for you. Please do not hesitate to call me. My cell phone number is available to all, and be assured that the conversation will remain confidential. For those of you who may have forgotten to send in your pledge, and we all know that we sometimes forget to do something, please do not hesitate to take care of your pledge. Pledges are gratefully accepted throughout the year, anytime. And remember that it is theophany time. It is home blessings time. If you need your home to be blessed, please call me. I am available all year round. It does not have to be at this time of the year only. And remember, holy water is available all year round, as well as holy oil available whenever you need it. Before I forget, I just want to add something for the campers.
Yes, we do have scholarships available from the Don DeNovi Scholarship Fund. As a matter of fact, yesterday we did submit one scholarship to the camp. And again, anybody who needs a scholarship, please see Father Michael.
Thank you. Brothers and sisters in Christ, St. Anthony needs all of you, each one of you, not just your pledge to God, but even more importantly, your talents. It has been a rough 2 years, but tomorrow will be brighter. Tomorrow will bring us back our smiles, our hopes, our trust, and our calmness, so that we may continue to worship and be with our St. Anthony family. God bless you all.
Thank you, Father Michael. Father Michael and I actually don't coordinate what we're saying, so you may have taken most of my content. Mine was going to be short anyway.
Keep it closer.
Keep it closer. I thought it was low enough. Okay, that better? Maybe. All right, so the purpose of an annual meeting is to review your past year and to take actions that prepare you for next year. So that is why we thank you for staying, for the quorum, and that what we're going to do. So I highlighted a few things that I thought characterized this year, and as Father Michael has said, I will say the same. It is, I'll apologize right now for it not being complete. There was no way it was going to be overly comprehensive or complete. It's just impossible to keep track of everything unless you really do write it down the minute it happens, and I do have lots of papers for that. So if I had missed anything, put your hands up and let us know, or speak to me afterwards. And as I say, many of my highlights dovetail with Father Michael's. I actually started with that we returned to church in 2021, but I see in the minutes we just approved, we came to church earlier than that in 2020. But what happened when more of us did come, what did we find? We found leaky roofs in here and in the church, damaged floor. We found no air conditioning for our second year in the church, and many of the appliances just decided that it was time to stop working, so they have. We don't have a full complement of stoves, refrigerators, and even our ice machine. The good news is that those problems have already begun to be addressed. We do have air conditioning in the church, and the roof work is underway. And as you see on your agendas, there will be more time. We'll be talking about that later today. Part of how we were able to start work on this problem is, as Father Michael said, we have a very able finance committee who obtained a loan, and they dovetailed that with refinancing our mortgage and gave us the money that did not give us anywhere close to the money we need, but started us out here. And again, we'll have more of that, but that is a highlight of the year, which dovetails with how strong our finances are. Because despite the challenges COVID brought, as Father Michael says, our finances are stable and we're in good shape. And again, you will hear that later from Ed. In fact, when you look at last year's finances, it's a model of accounting. Our revenues exceeded budget and our expenditures were under budget, except in one category, but the bottom line is they all came in strongly. And why and how did this happen? As Father Michael has said, we just have to look around. I realize this is a small group because of today's COVID and maybe even the weather, but we have new people coming. And I hope you all will pick up what Alice Siemba put together as an update of our directory, membership directory. You'll see in the update there's a rather large group of people who have passed away in the past 3 years, but there are also many names on that list that I do not know, and I certainly look forward, whether we do it through Father Michael's idea of quarterly celebrations. It'd be nice to meet. I know I don't know a lot of them and would like to. So let's keep spreading these good feelings, loving and caring for each other, accepting our differences and weaknesses, and continuing to face our challenges together as the unique parish that we are. That brings me to my next highlight. COVID forced us to get creative with our financing. Our fundraising. One of the first ventures was buying falafel that Father Michael had arranged to be made. And just a few weeks ago, as Father Michael also mentioned, we're buying more food that Karen Canellis, Maria Nola, and Joe Incravaya are offering us to purchase. Women's Guild had a Mother's Day raffle, and I know you all know Leslie Carter and her committee working for the Tricky Tray raffle that will be happening in March, and more papers about it are up there. And the teens offered us wreaths and Christmas items to purchase online. And the most daring fundraiser of the year was led and run by Ed Asili, because Ed took a chance on having carnival rides. And not only was that a financially successful venture, but it took very little parishioners to work, and that is in our time and our bodies and stamina, which we usually have to give a lot of. And it also didn't take any money that we didn't want to spend. So if you didn't want to take a ride on any of those rides, whether they were for yourself, your family, your friends, your grandchildren, your children, you didn't have to. I think that's a fantastic idea, fundraiser. And of course, as Rob and Jim have said, there's thoughts, that there are plans that the festival get worked into this because the carnival is already scheduled in September for this year, and it will also be teamed up with the Bergen Street Fest. So that should be exciting. And the only other thing to mention, I think, Father, you may have also, besides the Trick or Treat coming up in March, the yard sale, did you mention Valerie Joseph? We'll be conducting a yard sale in May. Okay, in terms of communication, the Desert News came back in June. It took a thanks to Claudia and Stratus for that, and for Strat for initiating and creating Oasis, which preceded the Desert News. As you know, Alice creates the weekly Sunday bulletins with lots of information, and our efforts to have a new website, I hope, are coming to fruition. Father, we look forward in the very near future to having you review what we've been working on, and also a small committee for that first review. Next, I was pleased that our humanitarian efforts continued this year. And yes, led by, but certainly the Women's Guild has done a great job. I do hope you all pick up the only organization in our parish who wrote a report as we asked for. We don't push too hard, but Jackie doesn't need pushing. And it is up there, and in it, she identifies all the humanitarian work that the Women's Guild has done, and that is included, I'm just going to read a few of them: Focus, the Fellowship of Orthodox Christians United in Service, the Orthodox Prison Ministry, and their most recent one was Gifts to Children and Families at St. Vladimir's. Second humanitarian effort is the walk-in dinner program that we have had for a few years, organized by Betty and John Gakis. That still continues. St. Anthony's is a part of many local churches who provide a full dinner. We do it 4 times a year. I don't know if other churches do it more often, but a full dinner to needy adults and in Hackensack. Third, Stratus organized a virtual wine tasting with the help of Stu Leonards in Paramus, and working with a number of area Orthodox churches. Not only was that a successful fundraiser, it was a lot of fun, and those funds went to support the IOCC, the International Orthodox Christian Charities. And finally, just during Christmas time here, Christine Scarpa organized and collected food for a local pantry, which we are thankful for. And last, I just had a few things that were simply new, and again, I think Father has mentioned many of them, so they don't have a lot of history because they're new. One of them is that Joe Elsaby is serving as the new church school director, and I would like to say best wishes to Joe, and I hope he lets us know how the parish what the parish needs to do to support him and the church school. Secondly, Chris Mandalakis and James Gakis will be filling some of the role that John Meyer played, and for that we are very thankful, and we can't wait to see your appliance list. Chris and Sandy Eliopoulos, longtime St. Anthony parishioners, moved to Arizona this spring, and we are still trying to cover what they managed to pull off every week to get a Sunday coffee hour. So I would like to thank the group that is working on that, Jim Bogris, Alice Ziemba, Betty Gakis, Donna Petrick, Glenda Calvert, and Christine Mungi, and myself. We are still not completely there, and we will be back in touch for what we next need. In June, we held a outdoor prayer service, which we called a Community Day of Remembrance. This was a unique event for us. It was outside prayer service, and we invited members of the community who attended. The point of it was to remember those who we lost to COVID and those who kept us safe. Strat initiated and led this effort. And finally, new this year, a new committee was established. It is called the Father Joe Allen Memorial Committee, led by my husband, Jim Bach, and Lisa Farris. Its mission is to support the enrichment and expansion of educational opportunities for the benefit of the parish and the broader Orthodox community. They wish to preserve and display St. Anthony's unique history as the first pan-Orthodox parish in the U.S. I am sure we will be hearing more from that committee. And that concludes my review of 2021. Okay, so next, nominations to the Parish Council.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was really my pleasure this year to be part of the nominating committee with Robin Ziemba and Gieth Abdullah. Due to their efforts, I think we came up with a very capable list of candidates for the Parish Council this year. Our first two candidates are actually newcomers to the council, Stephen Petrick and James Tweel Jr. Certainly not newcomers to St. Anthony's or our St. Anthony's church life, but newcomers to the council. Our next two candidates are returnees, Nikki Bach and Isaiah Vallejo-Juste, two returning council members. Just to bring to everyone's attention, they are, of course, very dedicated. They've been very dedicated and very hardworking for the council and, of course, for St. Anthony at large. One thing I do want to bring to everyone's attention is that typically the term for parish council is 3 years, and what we've done with the bylaws is actually restrict the terms to 2 consecutive terms, and then that person must come off the council for at least a year, and then they'd be eligible to come back on the council. So that is, of course, our slate this year. Again, James Tweel, Stephen Petrick, Nikki Bach, and Isaiah Vallejo-Juste. Do we have any nominations from the floor? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the slate? Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Wait, Ed made the motion.
Okay.
Stella
Okay.
second. Just for the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the slate has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we have the treasurer's report from Ed, and Ed will also do the 2022 budget. John Banyo is ill, not with COVID.
No, he's got a very, very bad cold, and it's better for him and for us that he stay home. Morning, everybody. First, I want to thank John, Manu, and Isaiah, and Peter and Deacon Peter for all the work that they've done behind the scenes, and of course for John Banyu for preparing a lot of the work here. You have the statement of activities in front of you. What I'm going to do, I've highlighted a few items that I'm going to go over, and then I'd like to take questions, accept a motion to approve, and then we'll proceed. On this, as Nikki said, the statement of activities is a very positive one. My first thought was to thank everybody. We have, I believe, this number of $180,000 may be the highest we've ever received as a parish, and here we are in the middle of a pandemic. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you to all of you, and we very much appreciate it. Of course, obviously we need it, especially with what you're going to hear later in terms of the repairs that we have, that we need. Again, the assessments came in almost on budget, and for that I thank everybody also. On a sad note, the memorial was very high. If you look at the list that Alice prepared, we had 14 people on the memorial for this year who passed away, and that accounts for almost the $13,000 in memorial contributions we had this year. It's good to see hall rental is back, $8,700 versus hardly anything the past 2 years. John, thank you, and Sabah, thank you also for everything you've done. The issue we have with Rising Stars, if you see the revenue there is only $4,400. It used to be $23,000, $25,000. They had difficulty during the pandemic. And from what I understand, they are in the process of selling the business, and we're interviewing, at least John and Nikki are interviewing the new owners, and they will present to the parish council what they negotiate to see if it's worthwhile for us and what kind of arrangement we can make going forward. The budget we had, we'll go over the budget later. The revenues, we were very pleased, as Nikki said, we had some good success with the carnival and with Don Denobi's outing. The numbers are a little bit mixed up. They should be, but combined, they're correct. And we have to thank Betty, where are you? We got tremendous, you've done it for many, many years. You broke it down to a couple of supermarkets, but we generated $4,800. Thank you very much for all your efforts. The utilities were low, I think in part because we didn't have air conditioning for 7 months, 8 months. Sometimes there's a silver lining. Other than that, everything else was more or less okay. We ended the year with a surplus, which we've been using now in part for the repairs that we're going to have. So that concludes my comments on the activities for the past year. Are there any questions on the statement for the activities for this year ending December?
Ed?
Sir, yes.
Just
Lisa.
a comment? Yeah, not a sir. The Father Joe Memorial Fund
Yes,
should not be listed.
that is correct. That's an error. It's a liability, and in fact, we owed Father Joe Memorial $15,000.
17.
17 now?
I'm climbing.
Well, I don't, we had 15, right, 17 it is. We'll get it to you. We used it in part for operations, but we have it in reserve, and I'll talk about that in a minute now.
And we will be opening up our own account.
Yes,
Tell
yes.
us which bank.
We're going to do it at Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, as Nikki alluded to, yes,
One more thing, there's also money probably that were, went to general fund for any forms that were done on, parish giving, like teas, food sales, flower sales.
that's all included in operations. They're in operations.
That's what means they have to be transferred to those areas. In other words, there's money that they go back to the city account, probably never went back, because it all gets counted, even though there's a separate.
Then you have to tell us how much it is. Okay? Okay, then let us know so we can transfer. That's not hard. Yes?
I'm not sure if this is the right place to ask it, but Father said something about pledge cards.
The pledges, have the pledges been mailed?
They have
We,
not gone out.
they have not gone out. Lisa, when are they going out?
I don't send them out. I don't know. Not my responsibility. Not my responsibility.
All right, it's not done, but they will go out. They will go out?
They will go out.
They will go out. They'll go out hopefully within the month.
Yeah, not me.
In the meantime, please continue the pledges that you had for the prior year. All right, as Nikki alluded to, we negotiated with a lot of banks, or we tried to negotiate with a lot of banks. Bank of America wouldn't accept us, and we had to go to Columbia Bank, which is the only bank that would talk to us about a construction loan. They gave us a loan which netted us, after bank costs and closing, $200,000. We've received $100,000 of that 200. No, I'm sorry. We received $190,000 from that money, and we paid for the air conditioning, $62,000 for the air conditioning, and we paid $100,000 for the roof so far. We still have $55,000 that we still owe the roof when they're completed. Jim tells me that the only thing that's missing is the roof from the barrels, and God willing, that'll be done within the next 30 days. We'll owe them $55,000, and we have the money for that. We have about $56,000 left from the borrowings and the excess revenues that we had this year available for further repairs, whether they be whatever the House Committee decides the priority is. But we do have $56,000, and on top of that, I was explaining to Jim, we do have a safety fund, so to speak. There's $15,000 sitting in the festival account, there's $15,000 sitting in the BSF account, and Columbia Bank made us open up an account with $25,000 to charge the interest on the loan, of which is about $22,000 that's left there. So we do have a safety fund, or safety funds, should I say, after that we still can spend the $56,000, and we're in, as Nikki said, we're in very good shape, considering everything that's going on. Although, when Jim paints the picture of what we have to do, there's a lot of work ahead of us. A lot of work ahead of us. Huh? What's that? He's your negative? Well, no, he's a realistic. I think it's realistic. We have to face the fact that this is a 60-year-old building, and that this is our home. We have to take care of our home, just like we do at home. All right, do we need a motion?
Yes.
Do we need a motion to accept the review of statements? Jim? Yes.
With current loan that we have with Columbia, is
Yes.
construction loan interest only, or is it amortized?
It's interest only until it's finalized.
And then there'll be a second takeout loan?
I'll discuss that with the new budget.
And no, we do not need a motion, we're just, you're presenting the
That's fine.
financial report.
Okay. Then let's go to the budget. Unless anybody has any questions. Pete? That's in the budget. I'm going to cover that in the budget, Pete. I want to cover it in the budget, yeah. All right, so now everybody has a copy of the budget. We have it in two forms. We had it constructed the way we did it at the Finance Committee, and then I had I asked John to simplify it by putting 3 different columns. The budget is a very, very, very conservative budget. It's something that we should meet without any problem, and we should generate excess funds, which we will need for all the construction that we have, all the repairs that we have to do. For example, we raised 180,000, but the budget in envelopes, but the budget only has 172. It's basically a balanced budget. So that's the first highlight I want to point out. The second highlight is the issue of the organizational fundraising. In total, we have $80,000, which is double it's double because the Father Joe has 2,000 there, so really we raised 40,000 last year, and we're budgeting 80,000. Now, there's a couple of very exciting things that's going to happen this year. First of all, there's a tricky tray, and Leslie's threatening to raise $30,000. Threatening. We only have budgeted. Tricky tray. What we've done for the special fundraiser, we've only budgeted 20. So if you do the 30, we probably can fix a parking lot. Or part of it anyway. The yard sale, we've got 5,000 booked for the yard sale. If anybody's been to my basement, you can't walk through my basement because we've got 2.5 years of accumulated, I don't want to say what's happening.
Items for sale.
Items for sale.
Items for sale.
And once my basement is cleaned, we're going to try and sell the house. So we have to clean the basement this year, folks. Whatever is not taken out is going to the bottom of the hill. The Don Denovi, we only budgeted 10. We did better last year. So we're really very conservative here. The Bergenfest, we budgeted 32. It's going to be very exciting this year to combine the Bergenfest, the food that we want to sell, plus the carnival. I believe that these numbers are really very conservative and that we should generate significantly more than 80, which we will need again, which we will need for what we need. You're going to hear from Jim in a minute. Other than that, the budget is very, very conservative, except for what Pete was starting to allude to. On the 4th page, you'll see that we have $60,000 set aside for the mortgage payment. We want to leave this parish, when the mortgage is done, with no debt. So that $60,000 is accelerating. Now, the Finance Committee, in conjunction with the needs of the House and Grounds, may modify that if we need to accelerate some of the repairs, because we have some basic repairs that have to be done. The most serious one, of course, that Jim's going to talk about, I don't want to take your thunder, is the dome. So we are going to raise money. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a flexible number. Our goal, though, is to leave the parish with no debt when the mortgage is done, which is in 10 years. So I'll entertain a motion to accept, to move on the budget, and then have questions, and then we'll vote on it. Motion to accept the Jim and Pete. All right, now questions on the budget. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any comments? Yes, John.
Just maybe mention this phone that we had to move on it, that we didn't have a choice there.
Oh, well, we didn't have 200, we needed to fix the roof. We had no air conditioning for 2 years. So yes, we didn't have $200,000. We had to get the construction loan. That's correct.
The fact that our existing working with
Correct. But we had to,
But we added on.
we had a $200,000 mortgage. We now have a $500,000 mortgage. But we're going to pay it off in 10 years, God willing. And we did finally get the air conditioning going, and we have 4 of the 5 roofs are done, except for the dome, which will be done soon, at the Cabarrus, which will be done soon. Strat?
And the way the acceleration is related to the budget, is that for the, I assume this is for the loop.
No. Yes, but we're going to take care of it in 10 years.
Is the idea that the acceleration, you have it paid off by the time of the loop?
0. It'll be 0 by the time it balloons. That's the idea. Leave the parish with no debt. Inshallah.
How many years?
10. Any further questions on the budget? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. I'm done.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, Jim, tell us what our capital plan needs are.
I guess as it's been alluded to, I'm the one with the bad news. Used to it. The House and Grounds Committee, which is Mike McMinn, Helen Schimmel, and myself, did a little bit more than a year ago put together a capital plan for this parish. And as Ed mentioned, our physical plant is aging. I think we all know that. We have not done, frankly, the best job in terms of maintaining the facilities. Deferred maintenance, I think, is the operational term. And we are faced with a lot of significant repairs that we need to make at the present time. The capital plan was divided into 3 phases, and the total price tag on the capital plan, when it was put together more than a year ago, was about $300,000. And that's a little misleading because when we put the capital plan together, we assumed that we could get away with patching the roofs and buying ourselves some additional years without having to replace those roofs. Very shortly after the capital plan was put together, it started to rain in here. You will recall what happened here on the dance floor, and you can still see the damage on the dance floor of the water that just poured in. The same is true next to the steps going up to the choir loft, where the water literally has just poured in. And we had no choice, but we needed to go forward and accelerate the roof repairs. And when we brought in the roofers to give us estimates, they all collectively said, you're not going to be able to patch your way out of this. You need to replace roofs. So what we have spent to date on repairing the roofs, and as it was mentioned earlier, we're almost there with the first part of this, which is all of the flat roofs on North Complex, as well as over the hall, as well as the barrels that are over the front steps in the front, is $155,000. Now, we also know that we need to repair the dome. We do have some small leaks in the dome, and they will only get worse as time goes forward. The price, which we're not under contract for, but we've received a hard price to replace the shingles that we have on the dome with a aesthetically pleasing PVC type material, is $224,000. That is just doing the dome. Now, we have not contracted to do that because, frankly, we don't have the money. And I'm going to let Jim talk about this a little bit more, so it's not just me with bad news today. We also know that we have a lot of other things that, because of their age, their use, need to be replaced. Our kitchen appliances, after some of them 60 years old, are literally going almost overnight. That was not included in the capital plan. Our appliances were working when we prepared the capital plan a year ago. But since then, the refrigerator in the coffee room no longer works. The top pizza oven in the kitchen no longer works. The oven on the left side of the stove no longer works. So we know that our appliances at 60 years of age, for some of them, are no longer reliable, and we've had repair services in here, and they tell us that the cost to repair them, they're not worth it. We need to replace. So we're facing an expense of about $40,000 to replace the appliances that I just identified that are no longer working. And again, that's separate and apart from what we had in the capital plan of about $300,000. And what's included in that are things like our parking lot, which needs to be resurfaced, and if we don't do something about it soon, we're going to be rebuilding it because we're not going to be able to resurface it. We've got one low point alongside the building on the side over here by this doorway going out, where we have water coming in, and you can see the cinder block deteriorating in the corner. So the parking lot needs to be done. The fence around the church, which is leaning, which Zeno keeps leaning back this way, but then it's leaning again, is pretty well shot, and we're going to need to replace that. And then there's a whole host of things that, since we rent this hall, and we really want to be successful in terms of the rentals, we've got to hopefully not replace, but repair the dance floor that's here. We've got carpeting that has rips that if we don't repair it soon, we're going to wind up having to replace that as well. We've got a ceiling here that is old and stained, and I don't want to say too many other things about it, but that is a big ticket item in order to replace. And we have to do more with regard to the day-to-day maintenance for the church. There's just no getting around it, given the age of our facilities, and this is our home. We need to do more with regard to keeping up the plan. I was here when we replaced the air conditioner, and I should say the air conditioner was a $65,000 item to replace, and it's been done, it's complete. But when they pull the old unit off the ceiling of the roof of this hall here, they had to pull out some of the ductwork as a result, and the men had to get in there and replace it and cut it and everything else. And when they came out of that ductwork, they looked like coal miners. They were totally black. You could only see their eyes. And that's because we have that much soot in our ductwork that has never, frankly, been cleaned in the 65 years that the ductwork has been there. And while I was concerned at one point in time that these black marks that you see up on our ceiling here was potentially mold, having seen that, I'm now convinced that that's soot, that is black soot that gets blown through our system and through the air conditioning system. And these are the kinds of improvements that we desperately need to make. Kitchen appliances, if we're going to start talking about cooking and doing festivals and things of that nature, absolutely essential. Repairs to the hall, if we're going to really be successful and generate revenue renting this hall, we have to put some investment into it, and a whole host of other things that are in that capital plan that need to be addressed. And just think, the dome alone, $224,000 in order to redo the dome up on the top of the church. So those are the things that we face. You know, as Ed said, you know, we've borrowed the money that we can borrow right now, and we need to do some other things. So with that, unless there's any questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Vias. Yes, Helen. Yes. Yes, one of the places where we had a lot of water coming in was right where the circuit box is, going upstairs to the choir loft. We've already had one situation where there's so much rust inside the circuit box that one of the switches rusted closed. We had that one switch replaced, but because we've taken so much water there, as soon as the roof is completed, and that's the issue with the barrels, as soon as that is completed, hopefully in the next 30 days, we're going to have to open up that wall and see and make sure that we don't have mold and we don't have damage to the supports on that wall right there. And you know, we have been extremely lucky to date. Ed reminds me of this all the time. When we were doing the roofing work, we were petrified that as the roofers pulled the old roof off, they would be coming to us and telling us they had to rebuild the support systems and things of that nature because they were so badly deteriorated. And, you know, it's a church, and we lucked out, and we got through without having to do any of that to date. And that's only divine providence. No other reason for that at all. So, Jim?
Of course we're lucky. We're St. Anthony's. So, the Father Joe Memorial Committee got together and did some interviews. Daria, Joey Allen, and I interviewed the people that remembered St. Anthony's, that were here from the very beginning, before the North Complex was built, before this was built, before our parish, the dome that we're talking about, the dome was built. That they were here from the very beginning, back in the 50s. Phil was there too. We haven't gotten to you yet, Phil. But you were a baby back then. And we have long interviews, which we are going to put together in probably an hour's summation. But I thought it would be interesting for you to see a very brief clip of the founders talking about the start of St. Anthony. So if you're able, John, are you able to start it up? And if you're watching at home,
Yeah, if you're watching at home, go to the link I posted in the chat of this video.
go to the link in the chat of this video. Okay? So with that, if you want to come over a little bit, watch it, and enjoy. want to thank Ally for putting that together. She did the editing, so when you see her, please thank her. So Jim said bad news. I don't think this is bad news. I think this is good news. They built a home for us, and now it's our chance, our opportunity to get it back in shape. So in the weeks ahead, the Finance Committee is going to get together. We're going to talk to the Building Committee to find out exactly what it costs to build our home back in good shape. And then we're going to be meeting with you and inviting you to help out. This is our chance to do what our founders did. This is our home. We're proud of it. We love it. And we need to get it back in shape. So we'll be speaking to you in the weeks and months ahead. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Jim. Next is any other committees or organizations that wish to report. I know that we did, if you put a report up down there on paper, you don't have to also come up. I know that Stratus is interested, and I don't know if there's any other than Strat. So Strat.
Well, first of all, as happened with Father Michael and Nikki, Nikki kind of handled a lot of the things that I was going to talk about. I just wanted to remind everybody that outreach, first of all, the outreach committee, and I hope I got everybody, is Joe and Daria Incorvaya, Nikki, Alice Ziemba, Nick Nagorny, Amy and Giath Abdallah, Father Michael, Steve Petrick. Did I get everybody?
Yeah.
Is everybody? Yeah. We did do a few things. We had the virtual wine tasting that we did with 10 other parishes, and because of the fact that we weren't limited by geography, as long as we could sell them and get them to the parishes, we had parishes out in Randolph and past Morristown. As far probably, I know there was one box in Alamucci. That's pretty far out in Jersey. That people participated, and we also had a box that was in Florida. Right, because John and Betty took theirs to Florida, so they were also doing the wine tasting from Florida, which was awesome. And we raised almost $12,000 through that virtual event. So many thanks to the other churches, and God bless us being involved with now those 10 churches, which started with one church here in 2009. So that was really great. We also had our Lenten book club. I know a lot of people here were here. Did that with us again virtually, and we went through a book that talked about how we were Orthodox and what our point of view and mindset is in being Orthodox. It's called Becoming Orthodox by Dr. and Presbytera, or Curia Jeannie Constantinou, and we had a great online session with that. I want to thank everybody for doing that. We had our outreach to the world and to the community at large, as Nikki said, for June 19th. And members of Spirit of Orthodoxy actually came and sang with us that day, which was great. And we had people from the town, and I think we would have started doing more with the town of Bergenfield and other groups if COVID had subsided, because we made some contacts with the town council that Father Michael and I made at that point. But I still have the business card, so we'll see how we can reach out, God willing, in the future. We had Oasis go through April, and then we kind of moved into Desert News for different reasons. And we also had the trunk or treat again. Unfortunately, it kind of was on Halloween, and I think it was a little rough because people had stuff to do with their kids. But we did have some people, and some of us did enjoy Daria's cider concoctions. So thank you for those and those. I don't have COVID, by the way, everybody. I'm just telling you, I've been tested. Okay, I just have a lingering cough from a bad chest cold that I had gotten around Christmas. And as we go forward, there are things in education we're going to do. We'll probably start the Thursday nights, God willing, soon. I mean, we just haven't done that because of all the other things going on. We have to reach out. And we have to reach in to each other. And it's been hard for all of us. I know how hard it's been for all of us. But if we don't reach out and we don't do mission, then the church is dead. That was the main thing that Christ told us. And Christ, the last thing he said before the ascension, baptizing them in all nations, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So you saw our message. You see our legacy. They're sitting here. How we go forward, it's going to depend on us. God willing, we'll be able to continue and make another 60 years here as St. Anthony's. And outreach is there to help us with that. So I just want you to know if you have any ideas or anything and what we want to do and what we can do, reach out to us, talk to us. As we are able to gather more, we'll be looking to gather more and bring people to our holy church. So thanks. And may 2022 be the best year yet.
Okay, thank you, Strat. Yes, Betty. Maybe that should be a constant message in the Sunday bulletins. I know Alice has repeats, and we'll put that in the Desert News, Claudia. Although I guess, Betty, the numbers went up this year because most of us have been staying home because of COVID. So maybe that's helped too. Yeah. All right. Please think about it, and you're up for training anybody. Yeah. Okay. Any other old business? The only other old business I have, I would like to acknowledge Daria, who will be leaving the parish council because it is term limited, and she has served as our recording secretary. And she will probably not be most often coming to report on the teens, and we will be seeing Joe. So thank you, Daria. Okay, yes.
I just wanted to make a quick thank you to someone who is always like behind the scenes, but doesn't get acknowledged, in my opinion, enough. John McMinn, thank you for everything you do, all the help you give, all the tutorials.
Thank you. Any other old business? Okay, new business? I don't have any new business. Father, okay. It's not time. Oh, wait a minute. It is time, is it? No, oh, no, she can adjourn. Yes.
Great job with that background trivia. I didn't do it. That was done by, but, thank you presented it.
Yeah, thank you.
There is somewhere floating around a 16mm film that was a news shot of the first year that St. Anthony's opened. Father Gabe Ashe is interviewing that, and there's live footage of the church when it was brand new.
It's on the website. Lamp unto my feet. It's on the church website.
Really? I don't think it's on a church, but part of it, we have, okay, is it? All right. All right.
Somewhere the idea is
And then,
Lamp unto my feet is there. Ours and the little pole one.
oh, down there. I never looked.
and it's a little humorous. One of the strategies that the early parishioners used to find more besides the phone book is they comb through the new births lists, and anybody that looked of the right ethnicity, they went to Englewood Hospital or Hackensack Hospital. That's how my mom met Carrie Demas. She walked into the room after my mom had my sister with a group of women saying, "Hi, your last name's
Metropolitan Anthony Bashir say at the end of the service that it was in English and the walls are still standing. They have not. It's right on that video.
Thank you, Phil, for reminding those of us who've been here and for the newcomers. We were the first parish, pan-Orthodox parish in America, and we remain a pan-Orthodox parish that's still pretty unique. Okay, so with that, motion to adjourn from Lisa and a second from Jim and prayer from Father.
We thank thee, O Lord, for being with us and guiding us. Bless our parish and keep us all as one family, and fill our heart and souls with joy and gladness, and save us, for thou art merciful and loving God. Amen. God bless you all. Thank you very much.